And the third way that we've actually been doing lately is creating a maximum bid um, with a regular budget of close to, say, like 50, 75, or 100. All right. So you can actually see some of the information that I have here. So like this is actually one that was done a little bit earlier. This is the last 7 days. And so you can see that it actually made, it spent $46 and made $266.90. Off of one ad set, it's only had about four purchases. So now with these, your ad sets can actually take off, or they could go kind of steady. Now these items are not they're not the super killer items, but it is a cheap way of getting your sales to go a little bit further. So the way that this works, it can actually go. It may benefit you a lot more, or it may just kind of do regular on average. The best thing about manual bids though is if you do it right, there's no way of really losing it, right? And so you can see, for instance, this one right here, a cost per purchase for $4. It only spent about $20 and has a full purchase of, or purchase conversion of $209. And even more add to carts, which add to carts are very important because you can retarget and actually send out emails to some of these people. Not to mention the other sales that actually came in from organic traffic and everything that's going on. All right, so for those of you that's never done manual bids, this is the way that I actually run my manual bids in order for me to see what's going on. I know a lot of people actually try them and sometimes they fail at them or they feel like it don't work. And so I'm basically going to go ahead and explain my report sheet here to a T so that you understand exactly what's going on. All right, so in this report sheet, I have here the cost, which the cost is always going to show what type it's for. So when I run my manual bid, it's always for purchase. You can actually run it for add to cart. You can run it for different things, but for me, purchase usually works. I've seen people run it for just regular traffic where you do website links and add to carts. But definitely purchase is probably the best one that I've ever experienced. The next thing that I have on here is impressions. All right, so now the reason why I have impressions instead of reach, because reach, it doesn't tell you how many people are just actually actively utilizing your post and whatever it is that you're using, right? So with the so instead of reach, I use impressions, and this lets me know if my traffic is stuck or if my traffic is moving. So if we move down here, you can see like this one right here that has only 2 link clicks has 678 impressions, and it only spent $4. So that's on an average bid. And so the whole thing about this is that it's letting me know that it's not getting enough traffic. So I might need to change the bid in order to gain more traffic. The thing about manual bids is that it kind of works like a manual gear shift. You're looking for the right spot in order for you to you're looking for the right spot in order for you to actually make a profit off of it and see exactly what is going to work. So for instance, if I go too low, I'm not going to make any type of impressions, and it's not really going to spend much. So it's not going to help me out. So I need to keep searching for that bid so that I can have a steady flow of traffic for the lowest price. Same thing with if you go over. If you spend over, I actually have a few examples down here that I actually cut off. So these ones, we went over. We spent too much and it wasn't getting enough. It was getting traffic, but it wasn't getting any sales. So this doesn't benefit me at all. A lot of times where people actually go wrong at is that they're not analyzing their numbers, right? So the reason why, you need to analyze your numbers is because, for instance, if I have a cost of purchase of $4.59 here, and this item here is, I think this is about like a $15 profit. That means I make $10 profit off of this ad set each time that it sells. Now, for instance, if this is not the same, but say that this is the same item, and this one is now $10.96, I'm only making $5 profit. Now, if this is the same item, and this $16.87, I'm losing $1. So it's very important to know what your ad sets are doing at all times. And so what you want to do is you want to set up a steady rate for your cost per purchase you want to set up a steady rate for your cost per purchase as a cutoff range in which you want to, in which is going to continue to give you sales. So now this can actually change depending on your product. A general rule of thumb, if you don't know, you can actually let it go up to about $10. But that's only meaning that you are making over $10 profit. So if your item is over $10 profit, go as high as $10. If it's underneath, then you need to make sure that it's a significantly low range for your cost per purchase in order to make that sale. Now, if you're selling a lot higher ticket items, you can go as far as basically your budget will allow you to. So, for instance, if you're selling something with a $50 profit, $15 is okay because you can spend $15 to make $50. It makes perfect sense. Now, if it's something that's actually smaller than that, then that should be cause for concern because you may significantly start losing money because the cost per purchase is too low, right? And so that's why it's important to look at the numbers and really pay attention to what's going on with your ad set. Are you making money or are you losing money with it? Okay. So let's move back to here. This is the cost per 1,000 impressions, right? So now the cost per 1,000 impressions lets you know how much traffic is actually being brought in at the same time. So so you can see here so this one reached 19,000 people inside the impressions. Now, whenever you run a purchase ad or the objective event is actually purchase, you're either paying for 1,000 impressions or you're paying for a purchase. So with the manual bid, it's supposed to increase your traffic significantly. So it's supposed to force Facebook to feed you more traffic based off of your budget. That's the reason why this is up so high. Because the higher your budget, the more auctions that you're able to get into. What happens, if you guys ever notice, is that Facebook will actually close you out of certain auctions throughout the day. And it's based off of how many ads you have, how much you're spending, and off of the budget. So the reason why they're cutting you off is because they don't want you to spend all of your money too fast. Because if you spend $3 and it's only 2 o'clock, then that's going to be bad for them. So they actually close you out of some of these auctions so that you'll be able to spend more money throughout the day rather than enough right here. But now what the manual bid does is say, hey, I have enough to get me inside every auction. I feel like this is going to work. So now Facebook is forced to try to spend that budget, but only at this bid. So now the maximum bid tells it that you're not willing to pay more than $15 for the bid. So the thing about it is on a bad traffic day, that's the maximum that they will charge you. The maximum will be $15. And so sometimes that can work against you, sometimes that can work with you. So now the bid also helps open it up for you to win over the auction. Now, if the bid is too high, you will spend more money than this. So it's important to not overspend because your budget is at $1,000. Facebook will try to make it so that you will spend $1,000. So what you want to do is find that sweet spot. It's better to be under than over. Find the sweet spot where you're making sales and the traffic makes sense. $17.55, $169 makes perfect sense. And then, of course, there's like multiple of these too. So you can have as many as you want, as long as you understand as long as you understand how to look at these and how to cut them off and what's making sense to you. Okay, so moving on from here, we also have the click-through rate. And so this will tell you how active your ad set actually is. And this is actually this is actually live. So these aren't the best. These aren't the best ones that I have or the worst ones. We're actually doing this live. I just opened up an ad account and went through some of my manual bids. So I'm looking at them right now as you guys are. And so I see here that I have a click-through rate of 6%. And here I have a click-through rate of 1.66%. All right. And so this lets me know that this traffic is actually doing way better than this traffic. But the quality of this one is what helps keep this up. So you can see here that this one made 266 but spent 46. This one made 224 but spent 32. on an average, out of all of these people, I'm spending less money here to make about the same amount. So out of everybody that clicks on my ad, let's go back. Okay, so out of everybody that clicks on my ad, I'm actually getting 11,000 more impressions, making it cheaper for me. So I'm only spending $1 per 1,000 impressions. $1 per 1,000 impressions, and then I'm getting 6% of the 6% of my traffic actually clicking through my link, increasing my chances for a sale. And if this doesn't get a sale, I'm still gaining data because I have other ways of retargeting them. I have certain funnels that's following them. They're on my email list. Whatever happened, every lead is worth something. So even if you're testing something and things are just not adding up, don't worry about it. It's there for a reason. Okay. And so then we go to the link clicks, as well as the CPC. The CPC just lets me know basically how well people are clicking on the link. So you can see that this one actually, if it doesn't change over the time period, then I'm basically going to end up cutting it off because I want my link click to be cheaper. So that way over time, my ad sets will continue to be cheaper. These all coincide with one another. So basically for a link click, I'm looking for somewhere underneath the 75 cents. Now based off of your own product, you're going to judge it off of a curve. Meaning that if I have the same item and it's usually about like 60 cents or 30 cents, then $1.73 just doesn't really cut it. So I can actually add more to my product on another level rather than focusing on this one. But at the same time, if you are making profit off of an item, don't worry about it. All right. So and so moving on, we have the budget, which is 1,000. Then you have the bids. Now this is the difference between the maximum and the average. So you can see that some of these averages are actually still working. The maximum, it tells you the highest you'll go. The average tells you what's most likely you're going to get, but it does give room for you to go even higher. And so since the ads are based off of a live event, that's just happening, there's no guarantee on the consistency of the ad. So the average basically the average just tells you that you can go over if you want. But my average that I'm looking for is about $12. What the maximum does is say, do not go higher than this. So a lot of times your maximum will actually be cheaper than the other. So you can see that, you can see here as a perfect example, this is actually the same ad as this. And I spent $54 on my average bid than with my maximum bid here. And so even though my average bid is actually about $6 less than my maximum, but I still spent less here and made more in regards to how much it was. Right? And so I usually use my average as just a way to make even more money, reach different people. No matter what you do, if you do anything different to an ad set, it's going to reach different people. So utilizing different ad sets and different ways and methods to sell your product is ultimately the best way of scaling, period. All right. Here is my purchase conversion. This will just show you how much the person went through and spent. Now, sometimes it doesn't necessarily, mine's personally, it's not recording my shipping for it either. So do realize how much you're making off of those ads as well. Kind of keep track, but what it does tell you is that the average amount that's actually spent off of your ad. And it doesn't tell you when organic traffic is going directly to your site. All right, and this is just the number of purchases that ad had. This is the cost per purchase, which we spoke about earlier. And this is my add to carts, how many add to carts I have. And so you can see that this one, there's actually like some pretty high add to carts in here. And so this will either let you know that, okay, your conversion needs to change a little bit more, or it's time to run some retargeting to it, or even run it as an add to cart. So if you get to a place where you have no sales and your add to cart is pretty high, So basically, if you get to a point where you have no sales and your add to cart is high, turn off your purchase conversion and run it for an add to cart. You're actually going to gain a lot more sales doing that rather than just letting it go through and seeing if it's going to get another sale. All right, and this also lets you know the rate of your add to carts and your add to cart conversion. Some people don't like to look at this because that shows how much money you could have made. But then this also lets me know that's where I want to focus on in regards to it. This one is not so bad compared to how much I'm making, so the conversions aren't so bad. And I have my social impressions to show how much organic traffic or how many social impressions, which is basically who shared and who liked, like what type of interaction they had with my ad. All right, and so that's basically what I have in order to take care of my manual bids. When I'm looking at my manual bids, I'm focusing on the impressions mainly, my cost per purchase, my amount spent, and the bid. The bid is very important. The reason why I have the bid here is because I can actually change it as I go. And so I could watch them all at one time. I can come here and I can see what's making the most money, what's spending the most money but not getting any sales. And I actually check it on a day-to-day basis, right? And so I actually, the thing about manual bids is that they're unpredictable, which is also a good thing. I've had ad sets actually start off with just making they're just spending $2 a day, and then out of nowhere, they'll spark up and they'll make me $600 still at a low cost. And so the thing about manual bids is you want to change the bid, but don't get so happy on changing the bid where it messes up your optimization. So now when it takes about maybe 3 days for an ad to optimize. When every time you mess with the bid or you change the budget, that ad has to then re-optimize itself for the new changes that you made. And so while it's optimizing itself, it could actually take some time. But at the same time, it could actually get you more sales, or if you're getting sales on it already, you don't want to mess with it too often. So the key to this is actually leaving it at a certain space for long periods of time. Just make sure that you're staying in profit. And the other thing with manual bids is it's just like raising the budget for anything. It gives it room, because you're messing around with it, it gives it room for the cost per purchase to kind of move, to go at a higher space. So do not get alarmed if your cost per purchase is high maybe the first 2 days, but get it to a place to where you can, at a good bid, to where you can watch it and see if it's actually lowering. Meaning that basically that it's going to a smaller cost to purchase. So all of these things are subject to change. What you want to do is watch the time span and see if it's moving down or if it's moving up. If it's moving down, that's a good thing, then that's perfectly fine. If it's moving up, then it's time to make a change again. And so sometimes when you're actually starting them and they're starting new, you won't see too big of a profit margin. But then sometimes when you start them, you definitely can receive even a bigger profit margin than you think. Like I said before, ads, they're totally unpredictable, but what we do is we do give you the tools in order to make the right sale. Okay, so now that's the main thing on the manual bids. So I don't have any 50s and 30s up on this ad account, but actually creating so now when we scale up on our ad sets, we never go past $10 or we never go past $20. And so the reason being is because every time that you go up, your cost per purchase initially first starts pretty high. Now what Facebook does is they actually want you to go up, and the reason why is because you're actually spending more money when you use a $50 ad set or a $70 ad set in order to get your sales, because you're waiting for time for it to be optimized, you're spending more money, and sometimes the cost per purchase isn't as great. So if you make one sale at a $3 range, of course your first cost per purchase is going to be about $1 or maybe even $2. If you make one sale on a $20 range, you spent $20 and you only made one sale, you got the $20 cost per purchase. So basically you're paying more for Facebook and not receiving more. So that's the reason why we only stop at $20 ad sets. Now when we start moving to the $30 and $50 range, or 50, 75, and 100 range, we then use manual bids in order to keep it at a low range, to keep that profit margin at a good place. The main thing about doing Shopify, period, is making sure that your profit margin is in point. I've seen people make $1,000 but spend $1,000 at the same time. So basically, $1,000 a day is not as impressive if you're not making any profit. As I'm sure most of you guys would agree. Okay, so that's basically what I have to say for the manual bid. Now moving on to Instagram. All right, so now Instagram. As many of you guys know, there has been a lot of changes. I've actually received a lot of messages just this week alone because of the changes that that Facebook has made and how the traffic has not been completely the same. And so one of the main things that's working out now is using Instagram, right? And so now with Instagram, there's a few criteria in which you need to have. And so I'm actually bringing up this video so that you can see the exact length of, or not the length of a video, but the size of a video in which it has to be. So now the size of this video is 1200 by 1200. Now this is with Final Cut. I'm not sure what projects you guys use, but downloading your video, go inside of your formatting. So you can use like the regular formatting. This one is like the regular 1080 HD. That's the rectangle that you see on top of Facebook. And actually, I'll press OK so you guys can see what that looks like. So this is the regular 1080 that's on Facebook. That's like the kind of like a rectangle. Now, when you go to any one of them, what you want to do is you want to click on that customize here, change it, and then go to 1200 by 1200. Now, what I'm using, I'm using Final Cut, if you guys have that, or if you want to go ahead and get that, this is mainly for Macs, but what it does, but basically what a 1200 by 1200 does is make it a perfect square. Same thing with your pictures. Make your pictures 1200 by 1200, or else Instagram is not going to accept them. Something else that Instagram does not accept is thumbnails with too many words on it. So you want to make sure that you don't have a lot of words on it. Maybe just a regular picture. Start off with a regular picture and nothing else on it. Now the good thing about Instagram, which I can show, let's go ahead and create an ad here. Okay, so let's say that we go to conversions here. Press continue. All right, and so the main thing, so the main thing about a purchase is, the main thing about Instagram is that you actually reach a lot more people, especially when it comes to, let's go to, let's say fireman, right? And so this is just for an example. So you can see here I have like 28 million, and this is just in the United States alone, a total size of 220 million. That should change. All right, so we'll leave it there. Let's see if it actually makes a change to us. So this is how much our detailed targeting allows. It's for us to reach 222 million people. Now watch what happens when we remove Instagram. Right, and a whole extra 20 million people that's on there. And it's like this for most of them. If you actually remove some of these, you're seeing that some of these are leaving. And so that's how many people that it allows you to reach. And so a lot of times I do is I test it at Facebook feeds, but then I also go to Instagram just because of the fact that it reaches more people. And now in this case, it actually went lower. Let's see if we can find a better one. I'm just using random ones. Let's try police. Yeah, try police here. So 168 million. Let's put it on Facebook feeds. Right, so taking it off, there's about 193 million. Instagram, it's actually narrowed down. So what that tells you that there's certain people that you guys are not reaching on Instagram. Another thing about Instagram is that it's all about likes, shares, and comments. It's a little bit more social. Facebook is social. It still definitely works. Still make a majority money on Facebook. But with the new changes, a lot of your targeting for Instagram is actually going to work a little bit better. And so it's a way to actually scale up your business as well. By using Instagram, you can sell more of your clothes. You'll get a lot more people that's involved with it because the impressions that come from it is usually very, very quick. All right. And so when you do that, you still do it as you do a regular ad, $3 budget, 7 to 10 different ad sets, utilizing like different targets. And so the more that you do that and you begin to place your traffic, you'll see that Instagram is going to end up working for you. All right, so now there's a couple of ways that you can actually post this. All right, and I've been getting this a lot lately. So just so you know, no, you do not need to. No, you do not need to. Yeah, we just use one of these posts. But no, you don't need to use a Instagram account in order to do it. You can actually do it from the Facebook page, and they'll allow you to do that. So let's see. I don't have an example right now, but it's going to show a square here where they can actually click on a link and interact directly to your store, or you can actually create a new ad too. Upload an image. Let's see what image I can upload. Here we go, P2P. Paycheck to paychecks is for the birds. That's why you guys are here. All right, and so you can see here that they actually have a place to for you to click. You can change that down here. You can download, shop now. And you can actually use headlines. Don't usually work on here, but you can see here that how it's going to actually look on Instagram. And I found that pictures work good, videos work good. As long as it's a video, it does have to be underneath a minute. And so when you're doing this, your main focus is making sure that it's Instagram accessible. And you can share it on an actual fan page and use that same product as long as it's a 1200 by 1200 image or video that's underneath a minute. You can use it on the direct fan page and have the traffic going directly there. It's going to show up on your Facebook as well. This actually works wonders with even retargeting, creating your custom audience and sending this Instagram post right back to the people that's already viewed the video, right back to the same people that's already been to your website. It's just another weapon to actually use for your arsenal. All right, and so let's go over some of the traffic. If some of you guys don't know this method, you might want to write this down. So what I'm going to do here is worldwide, and for some of you that actually spoke with me before, we were able to kind of leave it there and just use worldwide, and it'll reach the right people. Now Facebook has made it where it's a little bit more intricate. You want to get rid of the different places that are just going to add to carts or has are least likely to buy. So for instance, for me, definitely Indonesia. Indonesia is like a perfect place to receive all of your chargeback type of items, your high fraud risk items. And so that's the reason why I removed Indonesia. Another one that I removed is Pakistan. Now Pakistan isn't always like that. If you're using like tactical items, things that a lot of veterans would probably like to buy, because there are people that are stationed out there and they do like to buy. You can still use Pakistan. I'm gonna remove it for this case, and the main reason why is because a lot of the people there that are just clicking on Facebook, sometimes they don't have visas, and so what happens is, even though it's a lot of traffic there, you may have even got a sale from some of the places like India. You may get some sales from there, and it's a lot of traffic. But what happens is that traffic will end up eating up most of your budget, and the people that have a chance to buy because they have visas and things, and because they have visas and they have a way to actually pay for your item, they may not even be able to see the ad because there's too many people clicking from different places that's more so just asking you a question about being able to try to buy the item itself, right? So that's a minor change inside of Facebook. If you've been getting a lot of add to carts, or you've been getting a lot of visitors, you've been getting a lot of visitors, and so if you've been getting like a lot of visitors, a lot of add to carts, you definitely want to start excluding some of these places that's just adding to the cart, or that's just clicking on your link, that's not necessarily benefiting you with your ads, right? And you can actually do that inside the breakdown. The next thing that you want to do is now go from, well, depending on the item, usually I allow Facebook to go ahead and optimize this. Now, what you can do is that you can actually go inside, all right? And let's see. So now one of these, we're going to go to breakdowns. This is something that was actually off. So let's go to breakdown. So now you can see the country in which they're buying the most. Actually, if we go inside, oh, it's two campaigns, so we can't go to campaigns. But if you're able to go inside the campaigns, you can just click on campaigns, and it will show you the average on what's going on there. All right, cool. So now you can see some of the countries here. All right, and let's go to add to carts. All right, we're letting this go. And so you can see here that there's a lot of link clicks, a lot of add to carts. This has been off for a while, so let's go to lifetime. All right, seems to go a little bit slow right here. All right. Well, one of the examples was that we had a lot of links to clicks, we had a lot of added carts, but no purchases. So, and I think actually on that one it was actually like maybe like two purchases. So there were some purchases, but it wasn't enough to keep it going. Sometimes don't let them run up your ad budget. Some of the messages that we even got was that they don't have visas inside, or it's too hard to get a visa from where they are. So basically, you can end up wasting too much money trying to focus on a place just because it got to sell, but not enough to keep your ad rolling. All right, and so now we are keeping it worldwide. Now let's say, so now since we're going worldwide, we're going to make sure that's all English. And the next thing that you want to do is that you want to fill this box up with all of your 15 million targeting. So like we have police officer here, we're going to stick with that niche. Let's say that we're going to go with law enforcement next because it's 15 million. It has a 15 million reach right here. At least it reaches at least 15 million people or over. Police officer, law enforcement, sheriff. Now it doesn't, so I'm not going to add that one to my first line. And you can see here that it begins to kind of dwindle down. All right, so the next thing that you want to do, now you can fill this up as much as you can. It's no perfect size or anything like that. What you're going to do is you're going to utilize this to start to narrow it down as well. All right, so now we're going to use some more targeting here. And you can even just type in police. And instead of officer, let's choose police dog. Now some of these will actually bring up a little bit more about dogs for you. Don't get straight away unless it's actually a police dog item. Stick with your keywords and make sure that you're on the right track. So this one, police procedural. Go back in, police station, 7 million. So you'll keep going just like that. Some other things that you can actually do is go over to Google here. Go over to google.com and we'll just type in, I don't know, let's type in police. We'll just type in police. All right, and then we're going to click on, let's click on police, close. All right, perfect. So I had to actually type in an item, so I couldn't just name police. But so now say that we're selling something for tactical or police. What we're going to do now is click on shopping. Awesome, right? And so now it shows me all of the stores that are selling police items. So now some of this, it doesn't necessarily go with it. Now that one's a costume, but you can also find like a police sweater, pants, LA police gear, and some more things here. So what you do here is that you actually go down and you see where you can actually buy these things from. All right, so a lot of these are costumes, so we'll actually go away from the costumes. Target, probably more so a costume. Kohl's, you can actually buy stuff there. So it's not, that one's probably not a, that one's actually probably not a costume. Possibly JCPenney's. All right, so now let's go over to here. So what you do is after you find the brands and you find what it is that you're looking for, you can even kind of take a look at some of these to kind of get rid of some of the items that you're not going to be wanting to target. And so after you get maybe past the first page, you're going to then do the price from high to low. And so now this all changes everything too. All right, so we're going to skip what's not used. So like for instance, this one is actually just a classic police sweater. V-neck sweater, perfect. Somebody's that actually in the police force will spend $99 in order to get a sweater that's going to significant, or that's going to show off like basically who they are. All right, so we still got a lot of costumes. So maybe police clothes wasn't good. Let's say police flag, right? And it's good. It's okay to actually use different items that a police officer would actually use. So now this has nothing to do with a costume, and it shows me a little bit more about who would buy it, because this is a Blue Lives Matter flag, which is definitely more popular with them. So people would buy this from flagcenter.com, Walmart. So now Walmart is on there. Now Walmart's pretty big, so watch this. So now if I'm using Walmart, so usually I'm putting the stores underneath here. So let's say that we did a Flag America, I think it was. And this works just like Audience Insight. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So like some of these are good to use actually. Flag of the United States, so on and so forth. But when I type in Walmart, you can see here that's a little bit, it's definitely big. It's 70,000 people. But I can still use that. You put that inside the first box and not the second one. And so anything that's over 15 million, even though it's a store or like maybe something else that you were trying to target, you're going to add it into this top one here. And you're going to add the rest into this bottom part, to the second layer here. Then you're going to narrow it further to a third layer. All right? And you're going to use a very big audience. Let's go with police again. Very big audience. It's going to narrow it down. Now you can see your total size went from the 220 million to 15 million people. Right? And now you're also targeting them all on Instagram. Now let's go ahead and target them on Facebook. Take off Instagram. And you're still reaching different people. Now notice the difference. When you flexed it, which is better. Flexing is always better because you're getting people that's not just associated with the interest, but you're people that's actually interacting with it. So that's the difference between Instagram and Facebook, is that there's more people that's interactive with it. Um, so you can see here there's 9 million that interacts with these because they have to do with all of these. But when I go on Instagram, there's more interactive people and not just by association. So Instagram and more by association. So so you can see here that the people are a little bit more passionate when it comes to things like this, just alone by looking at the total size. And so you're going to change this around in different ways. Maybe instead of police, the next one I'm going to use law enforcement. Right? And I'm going to change it around to 7 to 10 different times and run that inside one campaign, all at $3. Now, when you're running your traffic, you don't want to run your traffic past 5 p.m. Whenever you run your traffic past 5 p.m., Facebook a lot of times wants to get rid of that budget. So you'll get a lot of cheap traffic, or you get a lot of traffic that's not good going to your store, and you end up spending most of the money rather than utilizing it throughout the day in order to find the right people that's willing to buy your item. All right, and so that does it for the traffic, and also the Instagram and the manual bids. All right, and so now at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. I know there's probably a lot to download. Okay, yeah. So I see that I did hit on one of the things. I see somebody said that they made 800, that they spent 800 and made 1,000. Yeah, yeah. So that's why it's important to take. That's why it's important to take every measure to watch how much you're actually spending with each ad set to basically make sure that that the money comes out right. Because it basically, like, if you're not paying that much attention, it will kind of get away from you, and that stuff like that begins to add up. When I start a new ad, yes, I always do for purchase. Unless I do not have an active pixel, I might run a page post engagement first. But a but overall, I mainly use website conversion purchase. And the reason why is because, for one, overall you're going to end up paying cheaper because the main thing that you're looking for is the purchase, and so that lets Facebook knows that's what you're optimizing for. And so if you ever did an add to cart conversion, you'll actually see that you really do, for the same price, you really do get a lot more add to carts. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you get the sell. For a purchase, you'll get a lot more purchases if you ran it the same way with the add to cart. Okay, yeah. So knowing your pixel, the next question was, what explain basically what I mean by knowing your pixel. So when you know, so knowing your pixel is learning the behaviors of what your pixel does. So for instance, some of you guys might have started with a $5 ad set, and every time that you put an ad set at $5, it does phenomenal. But as soon as you put it at $20, there's no sales, right? And so that's learning the behavior of your actual Facebook. So when you so knowing your pixel means that that basically you know exactly exactly what happens with it. You understand the different ways that it reacts. Even knowing like your target audience, your you'll notice that when you put up a certain item, or you put up a certain item inside a certain niche, you'll get an instant sell, or you can tell if it's a winner or if it's not. So a lot of times what people do is they actually use different ad accounts in order to mainly sell with one niche. So knowing what your pixel knows how to target and who to reach it is basically what I mean by knowing your pixel. Just understanding the behaviors and how it reacts to your targeting and your ads. Yes, this is actually being recorded, so you guys will be able to see it inside the chat a little bit later. So if I have a new pixel, I'm running my PPE for no more than 3 days. I'm still searching for a sell within the first day. And so basically, in 24 hours, I'm expecting at least one sell or at least 8 add to carts. If it does neither, then I'm just going to cut it off and focus on the ones that do, or run into a different product. Now, as soon as you get that purchase, you want to convert those PPEs into website conversion as purchase, because PPE isn't as consistent, and the reason why it's not consistent because it's made just for that. A page post engagement is made to get more engagement. So when you run an engagement, you're going to see a lot of traffic coming. It's a great way to test your targeting, see if you're actually reaching out to people. But overall, sometimes your page post engagement may just stop out, or may just stop making sales out of nowhere, and that's because it's not necessarily looking for the purchase; it's looking for the engagement. The only reason why you receive purchases is because you're getting traffic. Um, yeah, but even though when you switch over to your even though you switch over to your purchase conversions, what you want to do is you want to um you want to keep your page post engagement going as long as it's just making you money. But just kind of still watch both of them and make sure that it's always making you money. If it's making you money, you can continue to scale. You can continue to do what you do. Um, but the moment that it starts to lose you money, go ahead and cut it off. Um, so the next question I see is, do I run a lot of video ads or photo ads? It really depends on the niche that you go in. Um, Now I find myself, because I run clothes, uh I run items that work well with pictures, but then again I also run gadgets and things that work well with videos. So if it's something that's kind of showing off like a still picture, like a certain design or something, then I want to keep it still so that the person can kind of look at it and analyze. So for instance, if it was a brand new dress, I want a picture. I don't necessarily want a video, because it's too much movement, and they can kind of look at it and admire it, show it off to other people and see what they think. Now, if it's a video on a certain item that maybe needs to be used, then I want it to be used. I want people to see that they can use it for this, that it's real, and you want it to look as professional as possible. But videos do actually get a lot of traffic as well. So I can say, if you can get a video for it, then go ahead and get a video for it. But pictures are just basically not bad. So it's kind of like a 50-50 thing for me. All right. And the next question is, do you do the 7 to 10 ad sets first and then go to manual bidding? Yes, I definitely run the 7 to 10 ad sets first. So I test it out first to see what's selling, or see how well my ads are doing, and based off of that test, if I get an ad set that's consistently making sales, maybe for at least 3 days, then I'll go ahead and move it up to a manual bid. Okay, and okay, I see another question for how long do I keep the PPE? Just in case you guys missed it, I only keep it for 3 days. How long does it take your pixel to mature? It really depends on how many cells you get. The more cells that you get, the more that your pixel will really mature. Um, I can say I can say like with as many cells as it would take, it'll probably take maybe about um, to get like a great pixel going, maybe about 300 to 500 cells inside your pixel to really get it to where it's just where it just you can basically just let it run rampant. Um, that's like a great area for a seasoned pixel, and you'll actually start making, like, you start seeing more of the 1,000 cells, and so um, but as soon as you get like a winning product, let's say that you get that you get like a winning product close to like about 300 cells or so, you'll see that it's really mature. Once you start a new ad for a new product, let it optimize for the 48 to I have to open up this. I have to open up the question a little bit more so I can read the rest. So 1 second. Okay, so once I There we go. Okay, so once you start a new ad for a new product, let it optimize for the 48 to 72 hours. Then what is the next step? Retargeting. The next step is actually to scale. So you want to duplicate any ad set. You want to duplicate any winning ad set at least 2 to 4 times for the same budget. And if it has 5 sales or more, then you want to duplicate it once for 10 and then duplicate it again for 20. And remember, so that's not changing the budget. You never want to change the budget because it actually changes the full algorithm of your ad. And so you want to leave the budget there. So if it's working, don't mess with it. Duplicate it and then make your changes. Okay, and so they say, what is a good ratio for number of clicks to one sale? Um, so duplicates. I'm sorry. So for the clicks to one sale, it really depends. Um, yeah, I don't have an exact ratio for the clicks because some things will actually have a lot of traffic, to where it basically makes a sale. So the more traffic that you receive, the cheaper that your cost per click is going to be, and also the faster that you receive sales. So it's not so you don't always have to look at the actual ratio of the clicks, for a sale, but more so look at the cost per purchase of it, and then more so look at the cost per click. So if you're getting a lot of clicks on it though, then your click isn't costing you too much, and basically you have a viral product, and it's just making you and it'll continue to make you sales. Um, okay, so for one-on-one trainings, what you want to do is definitely get in touch with Nate O'Brien, and he'll help you out there. Okay, so the next question was, do you start ads at $3 or $5 per day? I run my ads at $3 a day, and so when I do all my different ad sets, they're all at $3, and then I change them once they have 5 sales or more. I duplicate them for 10, and I duplicate it for 20. But I still leave the $3 one running as well. All right, so when starting out your products, I recommend. All right, so when starting out your products, I recommend having. I recommend doing at least 3 products in there, when you're running your store. But to get the best results, go all out for 5 products. And then check it out for, if you really want to get like on a fast track, do 5 products every other day in order to start seeing the sales really come in. And the reason why I say that is because, for one, a lot of times what happens is, there's no guarantee for what product's going to sell. Even if you find, like, the best selling ads, you do everything to a T. Sometimes some items just don't work. So it's better to go ahead and spend the money and get to the product that will work, so that you can start making money faster. Um, and also it helps your mindset. A lot of people will get started, and they'll do maybe like 1 product a week, and then the next thing you know, they're complaining because they haven't made a sale. So if you're doing less products, what it does is it begins to discourage you, and then your energy and everything will be totally thrown off. You won't be as psyched to get the sales anymore, because just the time range for you to have success is too long. So get started with about 5 products, and then just keep changing them out every other week. Right? Don't focus on too much if it's not selling or not. If you're doing 5 products every other day, you're guaranteed to get a seller. Um, okay, so one key was having. The next question is, you mentioned one key was having 3 stores. Why 3? Um, I don't remember saying 3 stores. Um, but I think I actually mentioned. I have seen people that does have 3 stores. I don't really remember saying the 3 stores though. Let's see. But but if you did have three stores, basically, um, if you did have three stores, it does help out with making more money, but you definitely want to master one store before you have three. Um, different, I think I actually mentioned more so having different ad accounts. And so having another ad account can definitely help with your sales. Once again, though, it's only after you start mastering your store, you understand your store a little bit more. Um, and so the next question was new with a new account with Pixel. Can you start manual bidding right away, or do you wait? Um, wait until Pixel gets seasoned. Um, I wait more so for the product to start selling. So once the product is selling, the Pixel does recognize it. I wouldn't necessarily say it's seasoned because when your Pixel seasons, you know it. You can split up another product around the same area, that's in like the same area, and you'll see that it will sell almost instantly. But it can recognize enough to start following after these type of people. So once you actually get a few sales rolling in, you see that they're going consistent for about 3 days, then I actually run a manual bid for it. Okay. Next question is it okay to explain on the product page that the item will arrive in 2 weeks, or just put in the return and shipping page? Um, it's okay to explain that it'll arrive in 2 weeks. Um, that's more so up to you. I do explain it when they act. More so, I explain it when it's on its way. Um, if I have an item that's typically shipping faster because the supplier is in US, which you can check AliExpress, there is an option to choose the items that are shipping from US to them. You can let them know that it's 3 to 5 US shipping, and I find that works a lot better when you're selling your items. You'll see a lot faster conversions that way. Okay. Next question is, what's the best way to sell custom shirts, sweaters, etc.? And some specific how to configure the setup to Shopify and create the funnel from the Facebook ad. Um, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so the best way to actually do it, a custom shirt, is to actually create a picture. Make the picture big. A lot of times I put like a different color background on it, or I kind of tilt it to the side, just so that people will pay a little bit more extra attention to it. It's known as a pattern interruption. The more pattern interruptions you have, the more traffic you run to that product. Um, so so definitely images when it comes to shirts. I just find that works the best. And Instagram shirts on Instagram works great. And then once they actually click on once they actually click on it, I don't have a pre-made sales page, but I have them go directly to my store of that which is the product, which is the actual product page of the item. Okay, that is actually a good question. The question was, what time scale do I look at when I'm analyzing data, and when do I decide to kill a campaign? Okay, so I decide to kill a campaign based off of the cost per purchase. If it's over $10 purchase, or if it's over a purchase that's gonna show that it's making me money, um, or just say that the item just stopped selling altogether. Maybe like in the last 3 to 5 days, it hasn't sold. Then I'm just gonna stop. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and stop the campaign, or redo the campaign. But I always look in the time span of 7 days. So the first time span, I look in the last 24 hours when I first tested, and if it doesn't have a sale, if it doesn't have at least 8 added cards, I'm cutting it off. Then within the next 3 days, if that added card still doesn't have a sale, then I'm gonna cut that off, and I'm looking to see. Now I'm looking at the cost per purchase, and I look at it as a time frame from 7 days, so that it gives me an average on the week how it did, and that's how I pretty much analyze my data. When I yes. So the next question is, when you duplicate your ads, do you run the same audience? Yeah, when I'm scaling the ads and I duplicate, I run the same audience. Um, Now, if I do have an idea to try it a different way, um, I'll duplicate it still and then try it a different way. But I don't use that as my way to scale. I use that as a brand new ad that I'm just trying out and I'm testing out. So so I'm not going to test it out for $10. I'm going to test it out for $3 again, and see if that's going to take off. And yes, I run and I run $3 website conversion ads for a maximum of 3 days. If it doesn't have a sale. So so like I said, like I just I make sure that it has at least 8 added carts, and if it has less than 8 added carts, then I'm cutting it off the same day. Usually I start my ads off at about 12 a.m. to like I usually start them off at like 12 a.m. 11:30 to 12 a.m. is when I usually start them. But you can actually launch your ads anytime from 12 a.m. to 5 p.m. Just never past 5 p.m. Um, let's see. So do I have a general store or a specific niche? Um, I actually have a general store. Okay. And so when I say 7 to 10 ad sets, that means yeah. So each ad set would be for different targeting, and I am adding new targets to those ads, or I'm kind of rearranging the way that I'm doing it. Okay. Um, the next question is, would I recommend custom drop shipping? Yes, I love custom drop shipping. Teespring.com, no, I would use T-Launch rather than Teespring.com. They're not even, another thing with Teespring is that they're no longer integratable with Shopify either. Um, and also Art of Wear is a new one. That's ART of WEAR. Okay. Right. I started a new niche with different fan page. Should I use a different ad account in Pixel for better conversions? Um, yes, if you have a totally brand new niche. Um, well, it depends. So if you're using that store if you're still using that ad account for another store, then yeah, you want to go with that. Um, yeah. So and basically, yeah, you want to start a new ad account, um, and start getting more sales from that. But if you're not using the ad account anymore, um, then you can actually go ahead and go more specific with the niche, and just start running ads on that same account. The question was, do I do all my ads worldwide? I do most of them worldwide. Sometimes I do some as United States. And the longer that they go, if I see a more of a country that's taking an interest to it, then I'll target that country too. All right. And so that looks like. Oh wait, actually, okay. So when I say cut ads at 5 p.m. in the Eastern or Pacific, um, well, it's 5 p.m. your ad account time. So I don't cut them at 5 p.m. But I know I don't launch my ads past 5 p.m. I cut my ads at the end of the day, so around 12 a.m. And that's all based off of your ad account. Everything that you do, it has to be based off of your ad account because that's just the way that it works. Um, and so the question was, how do you add a custom shirt or sweater into your Shopify store? Um, you can use basically you can use either T-Launch to do it, you can um, or you can actually add it to your product page. Add it in manually to your products. Now, if you're talking about custom, where the customer has to put in some type of information and you make it yourself, then I would suggest getting Product Customizer, which is an app on Shopify. and that will allow them to enter in the information that you need. Okay, so the next question is, if you see within your campaign that an ad set is performing better for a certain, okay, I think age range, would you refine that ad set to target the buyers within the category to limit wasted ad spend, or would you duplicate it, or both? So if my ad set is still working, I leave it the same. But like if I want to change if I want to change the age range, I'm gonna duplicate it and test it out at that different age range. And so the reason why you just don't want to go ahead and start moving towards that way is because there's still no for sure way of knowing if that's just gonna work. And so I've actually had ad sets to where I tried to change it to the certain age range that was already clicking on it, and it didn't bring in any sales. And the reason why is because it's all based off of the combination of the ad. So for instance, sometimes you may have other countries that are clicking on the item, but if it's not wasting my budget, sometimes that also helps with the purchase because it makes my cost per click smaller, and so it helps get the word, and so it helps me get the word around. Um, and so those clicks actually help me out with getting my ad to people that's willing to buy. All right. And last question, the market price that I see that works better with custom shirts or sweaters. I usually do my shirts at $24.99 with $5.99 shipping, or $39.99 for hoodies with $5.99 shipping. All right. And so this is recorded. You guys look out for this training to be inside the group very shortly. I thank you guys for coming out.